The non-stop radio show.
Non-stop hip-hop.
The hottest underground hip-hop and R&B show on this side of the net.
Yeah, man. Definitely thank you for having me on. I just started this like maybe about 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. Originally, what got me to the point of wanting to do a Gold School Retro NBA space is that ever since I was a child, man, I could remember living in the projects in the Bronx, and my uncles, what first put me on the basketball was the Knicks versus Bulls, and watching the Portland Trailblazers versus Bulls. You know, Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan going at it. And, you know, all these other greats that came into the league. And that's what drew me to the game. My uncles were basically like basketball connoisseurs. They first put me on to like watching mixtapes with like Sidney Moncrief and like, you know, Paul Pressey and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars of the world. So that basically like basketball was a way to basically like get me off the streets because backstory about me, man, like I grew up in a rough neighborhood in the Bronx, projects. 152nd Jackson, which is basically like a danger zone, you know, hotbed of the Bronx. And there was a lot of negativity, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, crime, high crime area. So basketball basically for me was like a way out of the streets, you know, because I actually got tied into it a little bit and you know, hanging around with the people I shouldn't have hung out with. And basketball is basically what got me out of that life because I started playing in junior high school. I would basically live on the basketball courts. And, you know, just playing with I was about maybe like 13, playing with guys that just came out of prison in their 20s, 30s. And I just grew a love for the game, man. I'm watching it and playing it. And the reason why I came up with the brand Gold School Retro, because last year I started doing Knicks content. And I always thought of, you know, like, what could be content, like once the Knicks season comes to an end, because eventually it does, what can carry me throughout the year? And I said, you know, well, I always love talking about like the legends, you know, that came before in the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, early 2000s. So I said, maybe I could come up with something that talks about them and keeps their name alive. Because I kind of feel like when we start talking about greats and we start talking about like the LeBrons and the Stephs and the Kawhi Leonards of the world and, you know, the guys that are in the Anthony Davis, the guys that run the league now, people forget about the guys that came before them. And we'll pave the way for the legends that are in the game right now as we speak. So I feel like they don't get enough love, and people kind of like once they retire, they kind of forget about them. Nobody talks about Kareem being an all-time great. Nobody talks about Oscar Robertson as much as I would like to see outside of like, you know, the U on ESPN. But I said, you know, there's not really too much podcasters that are doing that. So I said, I always like wanted to set myself apart, right? So that's what I don't ever want to sound like everybody else. I want to do something that sets myself apart from the rest. So I said, maybe I should do something like a Gold School podcast stuff, right? So I said, okay, what name can I give it, right? Started writing down names, I started narrowing it down. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'll just Gold School Retro sound right now.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Once again, it's your boy EMillio Weckbar. And I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tune into tonight's presentation as EJP Entertainment presents the Artist Spotlight. You already know what it is. We at the point of our show where we are joined by tonight's special guest. But before we do so, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you go follow us on IG at EJP_Entertainment to stay up to date with everything related to EJP.
Want to be heard on the non-stop radio show? Send us your submissions in MP3 format at Let's Network Musically 212@gmail.com.
This is Non-Stop Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's really good? Welcome back to the show once again. It's your boy EMillio Weckbar, and I would like to say thank you to each of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tune in to yet another presentation of this platform. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to follow us on IG at EJP_Entertainment to stay up to date with everything related to EJP Entertainment, or you can hit me on my personal Twitter page at the EMillio Weckbar. Would love to hear from you. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you already know we are at the point of our show where we are joined by our special guest here. And this one's going to be a little bit different, folks, because for those of you out there who has been following what we do over here at EJP Entertainment, we have long expressed the desire to venture outside of the music industry and actually start talking to other people who's making influential content and other content creators doing their thing on YouTube and all throughout the entire entertainment industry. And here with me tonight, I have with me on the line Mr. Ariel DeJesus. Ariel, what's good, brother? How's everything?
What's going on, man? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you, man?
Everything's good, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come rock here with us on the show. We definitely do appreciate you, especially everything you got going with your Go School Retro NBA show that you got going on and all that good stuff, man. Definitely appreciate the nostalgia of the NBA, greats and players that don't get talked about as often that you introduce us to and reintroduce some of us like myself to. So with that being said, man, welcome to the show. And with that being said, also, how about we give the people out there a little bit of a, backstory about you and what you do?
Yeah, man. Definitely thank you for having me on. I just started this like maybe about 6 months ago. Originally, what got me to the point of wanting to do a Go School Retro NBA space is that ever since I was a child, man, I could remember living in the projects in the Bronx, and my uncles, what first put me on the basketball was the Knicks versus Bulls, and watching the Portland Trailblazers versus Bulls, Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan going at it, and all these other greats that came into the league, and that's what drew me to the game. My uncles were basically like basketball connoisseurs. They first put me on to like watching mixtapes with like Sidney Moncrief and like, Paul Pressey and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars of the world. So that basically like basketball was a way to basically like get me off the streets because backstory about me, man, like I grew up in a rough neighborhood in the Bronx, projects, 152nd Jackson, which is basically like a danger zone, hotbed of the Bronx. And there's a lot of negativity, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, crime, high crime area. So basketball basically for me was like a way out of the streets, because I actually got tied into it a little bit and hanging around with the people I shouldn't have hung out with. And basketball was basically what got me out of that life because I started playing in junior high school. I would basically live on the basketball courts and just playing with I was about maybe like 13, playing with guys that just came out of prison in their 20s, 30s, and I just grew a love for the game, man. I'm watching it and playing it, and the reason why I came up with the brand Go School Retro because last year I started doing Knicks content, and I always thought of what could be content like once the Knicks season comes to an end because eventually it does. What can carry me throughout the year? And I said, I always love talking about like the legends, that came before in the 90s, 80s. 70s, 60s, to early 2000s. So I said, maybe I could come up with something that talks about them and keeps their name alive. Because I kind of feel like when we start talking about greats and we start talking about like the LeBrons and the Stephs and the Kawhi Leonards of the world and, the guys that are in the Anthony Davis, the guys that run the league now, people forget about the guys that came before them and will pave the way for the legends that are in the game right now as we speak. So I feel like they don't get enough love, and people kind of like once they retire, they kind of forget about them. Nobody talks about Kareem being an all-time great. Nobody talks about Oscar Robertson as much as I would like to see outside of like the U on ESPN. But I said there's not really too much podcasters that are doing that. So I said I always like wanted to set myself apart, right? So that's what I don't even want to sound like everybody else. I want to do something that sets myself apart from the rest. So I said maybe I should do something like a Go School podcast stuff, right? So I said, okay, what name can I give it, right? Started writing down names, I started narrowing it down. And then I said, okay, you know what? How does Go School Retro sound right now? You know what? I started doing the logo and put it together. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing that. I originally started it off doing it on when I was introduced to Twitter Spaces. And that's how I started doing the Knicks content and what gave me more confidence to speak on large platforms or in front of large crowds of people. And I said, I started getting more comfortable. I actually started doing spaces dedicated to legendary teams. I did one with the Milwaukee Bucks championship team from 1970-71. And then I did the 92-93 Charlotte Hornets with Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. And I started doing that. Then I said, maybe I should start doing actual podcasts and start doing it on YouTube, Spotify, stuff like that. So then I linked up with my boy Trippy, OG. He does Nick and 30. He runs VSN Network. he hit me up. And I was like, yo, like, I know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like the content, I listen to the way you speak in spaces. So I was wondering if you wanted to be a part of the team, because what he does is he has basically a crew of all content creators on there. Everybody does a little bit of everything. You got wrestling content on there. You got football talk. You got draft talk, NFL, NBA talk. You got Nick. Obviously, I do Nick and 30. I'm a co-host to that. And this one specifically is my own brand. I don't have a co-host. It's just me. I run it on my own. And that's going to be my own thing. You know what I'm saying? My partner is the Nick and 30, and then Go School Retro is mine. And I want to bridge that gap, because I feel like a lot of the younger generation don't really know. And it's not their fault, because they weren't really taught. You know, some of them didn't see the guys that played before them. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, like, I'm trying to bridge the gap between the young and the old, because I cater more to an older crowd, like 30 and up. But I'm starting to notice I'm starting to draw a little bit of the younger attention that don't know. And they hit me up. And they say, yo, Ariel, like, you're teaching me about the game. That's what I did it for, because ultimately it's something I love, so it comes natural. I talk about it. I get into the players I talk about, I get into their personal life, what they did outside of their careers, once they retired, from beginning, middle, and end. So I just feel like this is a platform that can be bigger than what it is, and I'm starting it from the ground up. But I think it's going to take me a long way, and I feel like I'm bridging that gap between the younger generation and teaching them about the game, because, you know, if you don't know your past, you know, so how you gonna progress in your future. So I feel like they have, you know, a lot to learn about the old game, and I feel like I'm bridging that gap.
Much respect to you for that one right there, man. You're absolutely right, because you listen to a lot of people out there that talk, you know, hoops and everything. I bet you even now some of the listeners don't even realize or even knew up until this point, when they heard you say it, that the Milwaukee Bucks won more than just one NBA championship in the recent years and everything like that. And that was something that I even had to go back, you know, years before, because I never even knew for myself that the Milwaukee Bucks back in the 70s had won championships and everything like that. So I definitely appreciate what it is that you're doing, because I had the opportunity, you know, it was the Clifford Robinson episode that you put out. That was the first thing that really caught my attention, as far as, you know, your content and your brand and everything. And then I had the opportunity to, you know, listen to the interview you did with Eldridge Recasner. And that's something that a lot of people out there, you know, really need, especially when it comes to remembering, you know, the history of the game, and like some of the players that made impacts in the league that wasn't like the, you know, the most attractive name, like a Jordan or a Kobe or a Pippen or any of those guys like that. So I definitely respect what you're doing and everything. And then actually branching out from doing, you know, Knicks content, you know, mostly and everything like that, because, you know, you got like over 100,000 different Knicks podcasts out there right now and everything like that. So that kind of gives you another, you know, wrinkle to add what you're doing and everything like that. So let me ask you, like, with that being said, man, like, when you get the opportunity to speak to some of these like retired players and stuff like that, like, how does that make you feel? Like, do you get a little nervous, like a little starstruck or something when you first, you know, make contact with these guys? Like, how does that work for you?
I mean, throughout the years, I pretty much got like, from doing it. I've been doing podcasting I just touched a year, like doing it all together in a whole. Okay. And like I said, it's only been doing the virtual for 6 months, and he's actually the first one that I've actually physically, you know, got on. Because what got to me is that like with me, although I do talk about legends, there's a lot of times that you'll catch me, I'll talk about role players and guys that were a part of teams that were key bench guys. And a lot of people don't remember like guys like Eldridge, because you know, they play. I remember watching that series in the playoffs against the Bulls. It was the fourth quarter. He got really hot, and he was smoking the Bulls. Almost tied the series by himself in the fourth quarter, and he got switched on to Jordan. And that's why, if you notice in that show, that I brought that up to him, because I remember that. Because as a kid, I remember him. I had his basketball card. I used to flip it over, read the stats, and then if I could catch him on a game. Because back then, they didn't really air too many Atlanta Hawk games up here, up north. So when the time I get to see him, I did remember, because he used to back up Mookie Blaylock. And I appreciate guys like that, because sometimes like I reach out to a lot of players, right? Sometimes they leave me on red. Some won't get back to me. You know, but he was the first one that actually, I forgot what it was, because he does college basketball commentary now for the Pac-12. And I noticed he put something. So one day he told me, I said, you know what? Let me ask him if you want to come on, because I do know who he is. I respect his game. And it'll be pretty cool, because I never really actually physically had a player come on my podcast. He'd be the first one. So let me, you know, basically shoot my shot, right? So I sent him a message that said, I tagged him and I said, hey, Eldridge, you know, I'm a fan of yours. I remember you being a backup on those good Hawk teams with Mookie Blaylock. Dikembe, Steve Smith, and Christian Laettner and all those guys. I don't know if you know me. I run an old school podcast. I talk about legends, from back in the day, role players or whatever, whatnot. And I said, DM me for more info if you're able to hop on. He actually DM'd me about 2 hours after that. Nice. And he was like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm definitely interested, yada, yada, yada. So I set it up. It was just, I noticed the more that I do it now, the more I become natural to a lot of my viewers say it, my, fans of the podcast, they DM me. Look, if you see like my first episode to now, you see a big difference. The first one, I was a little nervous, obviously, because we all know, man, and just with anything you do in life, the first thing you do is not always going to be the greatest all the time. Sometimes you just got to learn from it, and I did that, and the confidence was there, the questions, it's like everything just comes out. I don't read anything, if you notice, when I was asking questions, it was just directly, I wasn't looking at a notepad, it was just everything. I studied, I researched, I took the time to get to know what he does in his personal life, his beginning, middle, and ending, and what he does now, and what he plans on doing in the future. So that's what I incorporate with all my shows, man. Because obviously, if you have someone as a guest, you obviously have them on as a guest if you like what they do, and you want to, you basically know the person, and you want to, make it be known why you bring them on the show for, because obviously to talk about them. So you make them feel welcome. You see, I had them laughing. And me and him actually, we're cool now. Like he even told me straight up. He said, he had a lot of content creators reach out to him, and he doesn't really hop on too many. But he said he wanted to come on my show because he saw me as being a cool dude. And sometimes when you come off as being natural and like basically like you're not like kissing ass or you're not doing any of that, like people see that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the thing with me. Like I'll try, and at least I say, listen, I shot my shot. But he also told me too, don't take no for an answer. So I'm not saying, I feel like if I gotta ask you 2 or 3 times, I gotta feel like I'm kissing your butt, and I don't want to do that. So I ask you once, maybe twice, and then okay, he'll get back to me whenever. But I got some things in the kitchen too, man, working. So I'm trying to see if I can get Grant Hill on here, man. And that's one of my idols. So like if I get, because his daughter follows me on Twitter, so that's gonna be my next goal, is to get Grant Hill on this platform. And there's a lot of good things coming along the way, man. So it just came natural, bro. I wasn't nervous. Like you watched the video, like I know you did. It was just natural for me, man. The more I'm doing it, the more I'm getting comfortable. Like I envision myself, like, bro, I'm having dreams like the last few weeks that I'm hanging out with ball players and they coming up to me and we chopping it up like we know each other. So it just seems like everything is surreal, man. And it's coming together, and I'm proud of it. And like I said, I'm not doing it for clout. I'm doing it because it's something that I naturally love. So that's the main thing. It comes from the heart. So that's the reason why, like, I'm so comfortable at doing it, and why the interview with Eldridge, came along so smooth.
You could definitely sense that in the way you was able to conduct that interview. That you were just in a comfortable state, as far as sitting and talking with them and everything. And like you said, when you're doing it from the heart and you're doing it and it's actually genuine, people can pick up on that. And that's something that I actually saw when I was conversating with you about it and everything. And I've seen other times when you be on Twitter and social media and you be talking to other people and basketball fans as well. You can just tell that you have an overall just genuine love for the game of basketball and stuff like that. And then the conversation with Eldridge, one of the funniest parts about it is when he told a story about guarding Iverson when he made him do the 360 on the court. I'm like, there's plenty of people that Iverson had put in the spin cycle when it comes to guarding them and everything like that, and all the different things he told, the stories about being in Seattle, being in Houston and stuff like that. So it was a pretty good interview, man. And if you happen to get Grant Hill on your show, I definitely want to make sure I catch that one, because like you said, Grant Hill is your idol. He was one of the players that I really admired a lot growing up as well. So that would be dope to see that one. Who would be some of the other ones that you would love to get on your show as well?
I mean, dog, there's so many, man. I mean, like I said, I reach out to a lot of people. I reached out to Mitch Richmond. Like I said, man, I just try. You know what I'm saying? That's all you can do. Yeah. Like if I follow these people, I follow them on Instagram. I'll DM them and let them know what my platform is, what I'm about. And, if it happens, it happens. If not, like, I shoot my shot with the next person. But there's another guy. There's actually 2 people that I really, 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 I already did a tribute for Allen Iverson. It's on that VSN network. I suggest if you check that one out, because I went into a lot of, because that guy, that Allen Iverson, I would say would have to be my number 1 person I would definitely love to get on a podcast, because I idolized, because I was a big Georgetown Hoya fan. That's why I had the jersey on in the Eldridge video, and he was telling me how he liked it and stuff, because Iverson was like my favorite non-Knick player of all time. Because I remember watching him, because I was a big college basketball head in the 90s and the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And I remember that whole Hoya team, man, like yesterday, like Othello Harrington, who works for the Knicks right now. He's actually a big man coach for the Knicks organization. Jerome Junkyard, what's his name? Jerome Williams, mm-hmm. Victor Page, Allen Iverson, Boubacar Al. I remember that whole team, bro. Jahidi White, who made the NBA, played for the Wizards. Like, I remember that whole starting five. I watched it literally from the first game to when they lost to UMass in the title game against Marcus Camby, mm-hmm. who was also my guy too. But you know, it was just surreal, man. Like, I just wanted somebody like, if I could get Iverson on my podcast, like I said, you already know Grant Hill, and another guy that I absolutely loved his game, man. I tried to model it in high school and junior high school, was Penny Hardaway, man. If it wasn't for the injuries, Penny Hardaway was just, I mean, athletic, tall guard, point guard, kind of remind me a little bit of Magic Johnson, mm-hmm. with his passing skills and his athleticism. If it wasn't for the injuries, and the same thing that happened with Grant Hill, I think those guys probably would have won a title, did something more greater with their careers, and they're still considered legends, which is the coolest thing about it. Mm-hmm. But those are three guys, those top three guys right there, I would love one day in the future to have on my podcast. If that ever happened, that's a dream come true, man. And I'm always going to remember the Eldridge one. And I even told him at the end of the show, I said that that's going to be dear to my heart, because he's the first player that actually gave me a chance. You know what I'm saying? And said, hey, you know what, this guy's a new content creator. And it's not easy. I mean, I'm sure, you know, you're in the content creating game. When people don't know you, you could be genuine as ever. But when people don't know who you are, it's kind of hard. It's hard to sell yourself. It's just, you got to have that one person that believes in you. And then that one person that puts you out there like he did. As you see, he retweeted it. He even tagged his NBA alumni, NBA. And I'm hoping my page one day gets across to the NBA. I even DM on my shows, the NBA, mm-hmm. hoping one day that I'll be featured on one of their shows on NBA TV one day. And that's my ultimate goal, man. I want this platform to take off. But those three guys right there, those are the three guys those are my dream guys that I would like to have on my platform.
Absolutely, man. And you know, you keep doing what you're doing, because I truly do, like I told you before, I really truly do seeing your content taking off, because when it comes down to it, just listening to, you know, the nostalgic of it, and then just the overall, you know, the homework you do before you sit down and do these interviews and these episodes. You know, you could definitely tell that you do your research, you do your homework, you put it together, and it comes from a genuine place. So I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot of NBA players here in the near future that's going to see that Eldridge Recasner interview that you did, and a lot of them going to feel like, you know what, I want to come on there and be able to tell my story and stuff like that as well. Like, I remember you, like, listening to the Iverson one, you named players that I haven't heard from a very long time, like Jahidi White. I remember a lot of people don't remember him when he was playing for the Wizards and stuff like that, and Othello Harrington and a whole lot of, you know, different players mm-hmm. that came off of that Georgetown Hoyas team. So you could definitely tell that, you know, when it comes down to it, there's a difference between a basketball fan and a real basketball fan. You can tell that you're definitely one of those real basketball fans and all that good stuff, man.
Absolutely, man. I definitely appreciate that, because, well, you know, like I said, the whole point of me getting into the content creator game was just, I always said, I'm not doing it for clout. I'm doing it just because it's something I genuinely love. Like I said, I have a certain admiration for basketball mm-hmm. because I played it in high school. Like, I went up against guys like Majestic Matt, and guys that were like, you know, like New York legends back in the 90s. And, you know, just for me to talk about it now, I always said if I couldn't make it to the league, or if I couldn't, you know, because my parents, unfortunately, you know, like, they were young parents and they weren't able to put me in the AAUs and everything that we have right now. Mm-hmm. And I said if I couldn't make it into the league, I can at least talk about it, because one thing I do know is I love hoops and I love talking about it, and I know what I'm talking about. And it's just something that comes naturally. So me doing this, it's coming from the heart, and like I said, man, I see big things happening with it. I can't say when or where, but I also got a lot of things in the works, man. Especially that Clifford Robinson episode mm-hmm. that you're talking about, man. I reached out, like I found, because I'm the type of person, like, when I talk about someone, I'll look up like who's their spouse, see if I find them on social media, so I could get it to them. Because if you know, Clifford Robinson passed away a few years ago. So I said, his wife, I found her on Facebook, and I DM'd her the show. I said, hey, you know, I'm Ariel, I run this show, yada, yada, yada. And she said, okay, when you're done, send it to me, man. She loved it, bro. And she even invited me as a friend. She added me as a friend on Facebook.
That's what's up.
And she tagged me in a post, and she said all her family and friends were commenting on it, how much they loved it, that how sweet I was, how they appreciated that post. And then I know Uncle Cliffy is smiling at heaven, in heaven right now, looking down on me, smiling like that, man. I really appreciate that. So it means a lot to me, man. That's what I do it for. I do it to make the families happy, especially if they're not here anymore. I do it to make them happy, and I do it for the fans of the love of the game.
Absolutely, man. And that Clifford Robinson episode that you did, and also the Bill Russell episode you did, it was very touching, very informative, and it brought me back to so many memories, watching Clifford Robinson play. Remember those old Blazer teams, him out there with the red headband on and all that good stuff, man. So I'm glad the family liked it and everything. I'm glad that they accepted it and all that good stuff, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing the many more episodes that you're going to be doing with your Gold School retro NBA shows and stuff like that, man. And with that being said, before we get ready to get up out of here, because I know we're running out of time, you got other things lined up and all that good stuff, I just gotta ask you, man, now that we know who the NBA Finals is going to be, what's your predictions for the Heat and the Nuggets series?
Honestly, I think I could see the series going 5 games. I think the Heat are kind of like they listen, man. The Heat had a phenomenal year. You can't take that away from them. This is no shade on what the Heat did this year. They're a well-coached team, well-run organization. They got some role players playing out of their mind. They got Jimmy Butler, who's gonna is to me is a superstar. They got Bam Adebayo, who doesn't get enough credit for what he does. They had a phenomenal run, but I think Denver ultimately has too much firepower. I mean, when you talk about it, when you got Aaron Gordon, who was the number 1 option in Orlando, as your 3rd, 4th, 5th best option, your team is good. And that's no shade on Aaron Gordon, because Aaron Gordon is a very good basketball player. So, with that being said, I think I got Denver in 5. I think the firepower is just too much. Jamal Murray I think is going to have a phenomenal series. I think Jokic is going to do what Jokic does. They got guys real good. And the thing is, like with the Nuggets, they made good acquisitions, and what's his name? Bruce Brown. I wanted the Knicks to actually go after Bruce Brown, because I thought he was a glue guy, kind of like what Josh Hart is to the Knicks.
Oh yeah.
Does with a little bit of everything, and they got some good role players. They got way better bench than Miami. I think they're the more deeper team, the more talented team, and personnel wise, I think they got it over them. And I don't see Miami overcoming that. I think I'm not saying that they're gonna be blowing them out every game, but I think ultimately Denver got it in 5.
I think so too, man. I will go as far to say maybe 6, because Miami, they just came from a 7-game series with the Boston Celtics, and then the game 1 is Thursday in Denver, and then going after playing 7 games and then going to that altitude up in the Mile High, I think that's going to be a tough one for them on the road. They may get a couple of them back in Miami, but I think ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think that I think Denver's going to take it in 6.
I'm with you on that, man. Like I said, I got them in 5, but I wouldn't be surprised too.
Yeah.
Also, if they could go to 6, but it's not going to be like I said, you're going to stomp them out and blow them out. I don't think it's going to be that type of series. But I just think it's too much for Miami as far as this Denver has the better, deeper personnel, better bench. I think that that's what gives them the upper hand. I don't see Miami overcoming that.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, well, I don't want to hold you much longer, because I know you got other things you got going on right now, but I do want to say thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come rock out with this, man. Hopefully this won't be the last time you come back on this platform, man. Hopefully we can talk again soon, more in depth, get really into some basketball and good stuff like that too, man. But before we let you go, for the people out there that's looking to, get in contact with you and check out more of your content, man, how can they make that possible?
Yeah, so you can follow me on all platforms. My Twitter handle is Ari ARIOJOSDEMIEL at twitter.com, and same thing with Instagram, same basically screen name. And you can Facebook, whatever. And for any business inquiries, first and last name Ariel DeJesus 1984 hotmail.com. You can reach me there for any business features, and definitely it won't be the last time. Like I said, I do this for because I enjoy it. So whenever you want to have me on, you can just hit me up. Hey, Ariel, what you got going on? Love to feature you, talk about this. Because, like I said, although I talk old school, I talk Knicks, I love talking basketball. Also, I love talking hip-hop, too. So
oh, man,
you probably don't know that, but I'm a hip-hop connoisseur.
Hey, man,
like, I forgot to tell you that in the messenger, too. Yes. So, like, you want to talk about music, and you tell me specifically what music you're trying to talk about, I will let you know what my opinions are, because I was just listening to Souls of Mischief before I came to work.
Oh, man.
I love, Boogie Down Production. You name it, man. Like, 90s hip-hop was my era, because obviously I grew up on that, being a kid. And my brother was older, so he used to play a lot of that stuff around me, like House of Pain and all these, what's the other group from Newark? What's the name, man?
Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature was another one. Lords of the Underground.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Lords, stuff like that, man. Redman and all these guys. I got an older brother, so, like, that's why my music sense comes in as far as, like, the old school hip-hop, because he used to listen to all that stuff when he was a teenager, on the radio. So, like, I just grew a love to it. But I love talking hip-hop, love talking sports, basketball, baseball, football, you name it. There's not a thing that I don't talk about. Now, even though those two things that we discussed, those are my two major platforms, but ain't nothing that ain't too good enough to talk about, because I'm very, like, I'm very, like, versatile, just put it that way, when it comes to, like, talking about different things.
Oh, man, no doubt. And you said that you like to talk hip-hop, so we're going to have to bring you back on here, and we're going to have to talk about some Bronx hip-hop, because when it comes to New York City, mostly people talk about, Brooklyn and Queens, having the most MCs that have come out of, those boroughs and everything, and making a lot of noise on a mainstream level. But a lot of people tend to forget that hip-hop was born and created in the Bronx. So we got to definitely make sure we get back on here and we talk some hip-hop with you and all that good stuff. I would love to pick your brain about some of the good hip-hop joints and stories that I know you probably
and it's easy for me to do that, bro, because like I said, I grew up in the Bronx, so, like, I didn't move to Jersey till I was, like, 20 years old.
Okay.
So, like, I grew up in the Terror Squad era when they had their good run before R.I.P. Big Pun. I literally grew up around where Fat Joe, the project he's originally from, because I used to go to school around there. So I could talk hip hop for a long time, man. Like,
you talking about the Forest projects, right?
Yeah, he's from Forest. Yeah, so I used to go to Morris High School, which is right around there on Boston Road. Okay. So I know all about him. I used to pass that Big Pun Murray all the time. I was one person I wish I would have met before he died, but I remember the day that he died. Like Big L too. I was a Big L fan. I bought his album before he passed away. There's just so much hip hop artists I can talk about, man. And you want to do that, man, just let me know.
Oh, man, definitely. And it would be dope to see you also do some, like how you do with the Gold School NBA joints. See you do some, throwback hip hop artists and everything like that as well, man. We'd love to hear the knowledge that you have as far as the hip hop is concerned and all that good stuff.
You know what I was thinking about, bro? I was actually, in the funny you touched on that, I was thinking about doing that. The other day, man, I was smoking a blunt or whatever, and I was playing 2K, and I'm thinking about, like, damn, I like hip hop too. Like, maybe I should do something kind of like what I do with the old school retro basketball. We do something like a old school hip hop little podcast. You know what I'm saying? And maybe get some rappers on there, because I do follow a lot of content creators that are in that in the hip hop, in the content creating industry, and they always share my stuff. So, like, I would have definitely mind tapping into that, especially in a future endeavor.
Oh, man, that would be dope, man. We're looking forward to it, man. Hey, man, well, I know I held you up a long time now. We went 30 minutes and we were supposed to do 15 and all that, but it was definitely a great conversation throughout the whole thing, man. I would like to talk to you again, so we definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hit me up, man. Let me know. The inbox is right there.
No doubt, man.
I'll definitely come back on.
No doubt, man. And for everybody else out there, man, keep it locked and stay tuned. We'll be back with much more right after this.
Want to be heard on the Non-Stop Radio Show? Send us your submissions in MP3 format at Let's Network Musically 212@gmail.com.
This is Non-Stop Radio.